is Annika. I'll have the pleasure of guiding you through the afternoon here on the stage. And since we're on a clock, I don't want to take away too much time from our two presenters who are here for us with a session called Server-Side UI5 Pre-rendering with CAP. And with that, give it up for our two presenters, Volker and Wouter.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually just wanted to say very silent to Volker. I'm always wondering after lunchtime, are people sitting here to listen to the session or just to relax in the nice seats you have? You don't have to raise your arms, it's fine. No, we are here to present pre-server-side rendering, and we had to call it pre-server-side rendering because it's not really server-side rendering. What we do is we render the XML views with the data or fragments on the server and give the views back. But the rendering of the views still happens by the UI5 framework on the UI side. But in my opinion, this is just the very first, very small step towards maybe a real server-side rendering. But therefore, I would like to see in the future more things of the UI5 framework already integrated in the CAP framework to really go for full server-side rendering. And I already had a discussion yesterday with a few people of us here. Why the hell server-side rendering? We went away from it. Who of you still knows GSP and BSP? No, yeah. Yeah, why? First of all, I think it's just super cool what we can do with CAP framework in combination with UI5. And of course, it's not because it's super cool that you have a business case. But if it's in your spare time, you don't need a business case. Yeah, you just need some time. But other frameworks have this as well. Vue, React, they also have server-side rendering, so why don't we have it? Another aspect, in my opinion, why it has potential is the same reason why we still have GSP in Java, for security reasons, to protect your APIs and put it as part of your UI. That could be good reasons. But yeah, I have no real business use case, but Volker had one. So I'm curious, Volker, to
yeah, so, wow, this is loud, sorry. Wouter introduced me to the idea, I don't know where, but you introduced me to the idea, and then at exactly that time I had the requirement for Camunda's BTP plugin to have server-side pre-rendering in UI5. That BTP plugin is a generic UI5 CAP app that in the Camunda context, Camunda is a process orchestration engine, and it, amongst other things, also orchestrates humans, in quotes, meaning there's human tasks in the BPMN diagram, and in order for the human to do something, you sit in front of the screen or on your smartphone and you type in stuff. And for rendering this, we use UI5 and CAP for the BTP plugin. But the web app we distribute is a generic web app, and we had to tailor this to certain customers, exchange the logo, but we needed to do all of this on the server side because we had no control over the client side. So this is exactly where that use case came in.
All right. So let's show you what we've done. Maybe about the structure. So like Daniel mentioned this morning, we first started experiencing this and trying it out, trial and error, in a CAP application. But to make it reusable, and it was working fine in a CAP application, I put this logic and brought it to a plugin. And what you see here, it's already the structure of the plugin. The plugin is also available already on NPM and can be used. Inside this plugin, we have like this sample application, and that's what we will show. There we show how it works, and then we will show some parts behind the scene. So what you see in this sample, we have a typical CAP application, an app folder, DB folder, service folder. And if you look in the ESRV folder, or maybe let's start with the app folder, in the app folder. So we have in the app folder a web app folder, and in the views, there are no views besides the root view, just an app view. I will not show much more behind the scene, that will come later on. But the views, we store them inside the server. So in the CAP server, we have here a folder of views. And in that, there we have our views. Now, before we continue, let's just run it.
So as you can see, I'm the code monkey in this session. So that's CDS watch, just your average stuff, nothing special executed in that folder. And there's your local host thing. and there is, let me open up this guy here.
So what you see is just a very basic example of the books, a list of books, and if you click on one of the books, you get the details. And you see also the routing changing. But what you haven't, what we need to show you is in the network trace. If you look in the network trace, we don't have OData requests. We get content. We also don't get the views. We do an API call to the server, to the CAP server, and this returns us the XML view with the data already pre-processed. So there is no API call involved here.
Ta-da! End of session.
No, let's show some stuff behind. So to make it reusable, I also did some implementation on the UI5 side, but I'm not going to too deep in the UI5 side because that was for yesterday. But if you look in the manifest, because just to know how it's all connected. In the manifest, if you look in the routing, we have no routing to views, we have routing to a path. So as you can see here, the route for the list, that's the main route, it goes to the URL for the books with the key 0. Yeah, I cannot get a file from CAP without providing keys. So key 0 is like no keys. And then in the CAP server, we know when there are no keys, give me the list and give me the data of the list. If you go to the detail page, we go to the same entity and get the file for it by using the ID, and it's just being mapped. And this is being handled by an extension of the router in UI5. Now, what we've done on the DB to configure this and how you can use our plugin, we just used the books entity, and there we use an aspect server-side rendering. And we also define server-side rendering type. We can choose between views or fragments. We could use the same approach using fragments, but in this case, we use views. And this is just enough to make it work. By just adding this and the routing configuration, it's loading the views from the CAP server. And maybe, let's also show the views. It detects if there are keys, it takes the name of the entity followed by details, because it gets the details because there are keys. If the key is 0, there are no keys, then it's the name of the entity followed by list. That's just something we implemented this way. There is also a way to overrule this, but that's how it detects, now I need to give you the list view or the detail view. Inside the list view, we use handlebars. Handlebars to replace the bindings, to use it as bindings and fill in the data. So we have the view, we put in handlebars, and the handlebars will be processed by the CAP server, and instead of having those bindings, we will just have one plain XML. And the same for the detail page, of course.
I can't find it now, but you can imagine. Continue, please.
Yeah, so just if you show again the Project Explorer. So the only thing you need to do is provide the views, add the aspect, and use that router in the manifest. And it will work out of the box using those plugins. Maybe to show you some parts behind the scene, can you look into the aspect, Volker, please?
It's right here.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So the aspect comes with the things, the properties that we need to load the files. And there's one important thing that we use to trigger our plugin, and this annotation. Yesterday we were complaining there are too many annotations, and we come up with a new one. So an annotation server-side rendering, and in our plugin we can read annotations that are connected to entities. So as soon as you have the aspect, you also have the annotation, and based on the annotation, we need to know we need to activate our plugin or not. And if we can now go to the CDS plugin. So inside the CDS plugin, yeah, maybe start where we do the bootstrapping, not the bootstrapping, the server, yeah, the second one. The bootstrapping is for you later on. So here we have the check on server-side rendering. If there is a notation server-side rendering, it triggers register server-side rendering handlers. And then we register an after-event handler, which will trigger the getUI. And in the getUI, that's where we do the magic. And so if we scroll a little bit down, yeah, here we know the entity, and based on the entity, if it's with keys or without keys, we get the full list. If it's with keys, we get only that specific query. We dynamically build up the query to get the data. We get our view by using the read file sync, and afterwards we compile it using handlebars. And then we replaced all of the handlebars with the data, and we just return the file as a stream. And basically, that's how it works on the plugin side. I think I showed everything from UI5 till the plugin and how the plugin works. But we had to add one more thing. To be able to come here on stage, they asked us, yeah, UI5 only, that's not the right place. We need to show that it also works with different frameworks. So there I had to hire my Vue specialist, who is also handling the Mac. So yeah, Volker, can you explain how you implemented the same, and so we can use the same plugin to make Vue server-side using CAP?
So I'm no Vue expert, so there's probably some of you who know more about Vue than I do. What we used, though, was a pure build-less, so HTML-only Vue application. So there's no build step involved. But the magic happens, so to speak, in, let me move this to the right, in the annotation where you tell then the service, okay, here's the template where the Vue Bootstrap lives, and here's this app.js, which is a unified app in Vue speak. If you check out the coding for this, then you'll see that this is the magic part. And before I get into details, I'll just show you how that looks on the UI. So we registered a separate endpoint here. And this is already all the magic. You need to look, of course, behind the scenes. And this is where you'll see that once that endpoint is rendered, by the annotation, the template is picked up, the app is run, and then the result is simply pushed to the browser. So what you see down here, there's no line breaks in there, but you see all the content already existing. There's no client-side request to anything. So this gets pushed from the server to the client. Now the reason why you see interaction here is pure CSS. In order to make that thing then interactive and add some client-side aspects to it, so the ominous hydration can happen, meaning when DOM nodes are exchanged because content that previously came from the server is then replaced on the client, and so there's a dynamic aspect to it, then you need to require the same unified app.js also on the client side. And the way to do this is with wrapping it into this guy. And all it does is requires the same app.js and then creates the app and mounts it. So this is Vue specific. And if I then rerun this, then all of a sudden you have the dynamic hydration happening. And you also won't see any network requests anymore because the data is already there, but the interaction on the client can happen. Yeah, you see there's no network requests anywhere here. A word to the app.js part. This will look very similar to what you've seen in Vue before. So it says essentially for every book in our bookstore, render this guy. So this is similar to handlebars here. and the true hydration or the data providing happens down here. So before that is sent to the client, here you see the CDS syntax happening, and this is where all the books are selected. And fetch data is used on the template side, I think. No, it's in the app, true. I don't even know where this is called. Oh yeah, here. So this is a little a store helper, so to speak. So the initial data flows in here once that component is mounted in ViewSpeak, and then the templating happens, and then the whole thing is sent to the client. And you might wonder about, well, where's a good example to show you? So for example, this is, as you might see, this is ESM syntax. So this is a JavaScript file and ESM syntax, but I'm still using CAP down here. And with CAP being a CJS module, so usually it wouldn't work together, but with Node 24, which I'm using here on this laptop, you can interchange the package requires. So you can require ESM packages in CJS applications, and the other way around, you can import CJS packages in ESM applications. So that's a true benefit there. And I would consider this very experimental. This was a proof of concept, so I wouldn't recommend to move into production anywhere near this. But at least it proves the point that you can use CAP to retrieve data and then deliver it to either UI5 or Vue.js app, have it pre-rendered on the server, sent to the client, and then hydrated on the client.
Yeah. Maybe one thing I would like to show is the NPM plugin on NPM.
It's here. So, yeah, well, fast, almost.
And also on NPM, normally if you can scroll down the README? So normally it's already on GitHub, it's on NPM. All the steps to try it out are described in here. You can go through it, try it out with fragments, try it out with views. And yeah, there is also on my GitHub a demo application on how to use it, not as a sample inside the plugin. So there you can fully see how you can try it yourself. Again, yeah, it was just fun to try this out, also because CAP gives us this possibility to do some of the rendering on the server side, although it's only the data rendering. But it gives more possibilities. I strongly believe that some of the UI5 aspects can be maybe reused also in the CAP framework, and they could combine forces on some levels. One of them is server-side rendering. Again, not sure if there are use cases, but if you see somewhere a possibility, feel free to reach out to us. I think it's super interesting. And some of the things that UI5 doesn't have yet.
So you're so good in time that we actually have time for a question. So do we have a question in the audience? Yeah. And
I want to throw that thing.
yeah, Volker asked me if he could throw that mic ball because he really wanted to do that. So let's try that. Let's hope for no...
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is cold, man.
Shoot away, please.
Yeah. So my question, probably it's obvious. How do you plan to tackle the CRUD operations without showing the requests in the network? That is the one question. And another question is there a scope for minification, compressing the outputs that come, right, XML views that you showed in the network into component preload.js kind of?
For the CRUD part, yeah, we are not that far yet. It's just read-only at this point. For the CRUD, it will still be at this point, because it's still, the UI will still be on the UI side. If you click on a button, it will still call the controller, and from there on, it will trigger an API request. But ideally, we should bring more to the server side, not just the data rendering. and then we could have possibilities that it triggers, that it's triggered on the server side, but we're not in that stage yet.
Yeah, plus you have to say there's, I mean, you're free to mix and match. So you can have parts pre-rendered, like here with handlebars, and the other part will be a regular data binding, like you do it in a UI5 CAP or whatever app.
Okay. And is the minification possible for this, like the?
Yeah, minification. We can make it part of the plugin, for example. When you do a build of CDS, we could also minify the views. Yes, that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, it will be much faster, is what I feel, because already it's getting rendered, the data is rendering and coming. So minification might help with even making it very fast. It's my idea.
Good idea.
At least for loading the screen with the initial data.
Yeah, a very good idea. Feel free to, on GitHub, give a try and do a pull request. I would be happy to merge it.
Sure.
So feel free to continue this conversation in the break. Same goes for questions that we weren't able to answer. You can find those too for the rest of the day. Just talk to them when you find them on the floor. And with that, thank you so much for your time, for your presentation.